Welcome to the Women's Connection. I'm Barrie-Louise Switzen, your moderator. The Women's Connection is a program about events shaping women's lives and helping one gain authentic power on a personal or professional level. So won't you stay tuned? Welcome. The world of wine is a mystery, but with me today is Debbie Burden, and we're going to talk about wines, and we're going to talk about how more women are becoming involved in the world of wine. And I would like to welcome Debbie. Debbie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me tonight.
You've come, halfway around the world to be here tonight?
That's right. I'm actually from South Africa. I come from a farm with the name Simonsig Estate. We're right in the heart of Stellenbosch. I think it's one of the most prettiest wine countries in the world.
Oh, you're going to have to forgive me because I don't know where that region is.
Well, if you take Cape Town, Cape Town is right in the southern tip of Africa where the two oceans meet, the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Ocean. Now, we're around about 40 kilometers away from Cape Town, which is Stellenbosch. And Simonsig, if you look at Simonsig, we're north of Stellenbosch. It's around about a 10-minute ride out of Stellenbosch. So we're right in the heart of Stellenbosch.
Now, I'm just really kind of curious, what kind of climate do you have?
In Stellenbosch, we've got a Mediterranean climate. It means we've got rain in the winter and very hot in the summer. And what's funny enough is where we are situated, we've got a maritime climate, which even in the hottest of days, because we're 25 kilometers away from the Atlantic Ocean, we still have that cool breezes that come over in the afternoon. So we couldn't ask for more.
So how does that affect the wine?
Coming back to South Africa, or to Stellenbosch actually, it's been known with the soil and the terroir, which means the soil combined with the climate, we really can't complain. With the sun, we need to ripen the grapes, but also specifically with Sauvignon Blanc and with cultivars like Merlot that needs a little bit of cool temperature, that helps, especially with that cool breeze coming off of the Atlantic Ocean.
How did you get into being a winemaker?
You know what, in 1996 I enrolled at the University of Stellenbosch with the idea of doing veterinary science. But what do you do when you're a first-year student in the heart of the most beautiful winemaking country? You do experimenting, and you experiment with wine tasting. So actually in my first year, went on wine tours, tasted a lot of great wines. I actually changed my course, and I was one of the lucky ones. My marks were good enough. So in my second year, I studied oenology, winemaking. It's actually a 4-year degree.
How many women are in the wine industry in South Africa?
You would be surprised. I must actually tell you the story. In 2004, we started a competition, or a lady started a competition called South African Woman Winemaker of the Year. And what this competition actually entails is they look or evaluate the winemaking skills of the ladies as well as the experiences, and then look how can they share their knowledge, their passions, mark their own brand, but not just their own brand, but also the South African brand. And then one critical thing is that they must go and encourage and inspire fellow women winemakers. And you know what, when the competition started, it was 22 ladies. This year specifically was 53 women winemakers.
Now I understand that you won the competition one year?
That's right. I was very fortunate enough in 2005. I won the Women Winemaker competition.
Yay!
It meant a lot for my career and for myself, and a lot of encouragement. Yeah, I was very happy, very, very happy. You know what, looking back now with that achievement, and it just encouraged me more and more to go out, talk to other winemakers, and specifically inspire my fellow winemakers, just to tell the world that we're here, we can do whatever that man can do. And you know what, the South African winemaking industry is very new world-wise. It's a very dynamic industry. And what happened over the last 10 years is that to get the job done, you need the most qualified person. And if it's a lady, it's a lady. And I must tell you, our fellow male winemakers actually encourage us. So we've actually got it good.
How does South African wine differ from wines, let's say, from Europe, French, or American wines?
You know what, if you look at the South African wine industry, or the Cape winelands, we actually divided into 4 regions, and it's very diverse regions. If you're looking at climate and terroir, the soil. If we come back to Stellenbosch, it's such a diverse country, and like Europe, they've got a cool climate, they've got their type of soil, they make unique timeless wines, but it's the same. We've got South Africa, we've got our own climate, we've got our own soil, and you know what, with our diverse certain parts of region, like for instance, if you look at Stellenbosch, we've got a cool climate, but it gets hot as well. We make exceptionally good Chenin Blancs, Pinotages. Then you look at a warmer area far away from the Atlantic Ocean, and it becomes really hot, and they're doing exceptionally well at Shiraz. And so you can move on to Constantia. I'm just naming a few of the names in the Cape Winelands, which is at the coast, and they make phenomenal Sauvignon Blancs. So actually, if you look at the South African wine industry, we make exceptional wines, each in their different styles, just as Europe, but we're both very much different, but still excellent.
Well, I see you've brought a couple wines here.
You see, today we have the Chenin Blanc. It's our white, it's a 2006. Specifically, if we come to Simonsig, the terrain, the terroir and the soil for this specific grade, we're doing phenomenally good. Coming back to the soil, the climate, the terroir. And then the other wine that we have here tonight is the 2003 Redel Pinotage. And specifically, it was with this wine that I won the Woman Winemaker competition, so I carry this wine close to my heart. And
now, what did you do to make it stand out that and you won?
Part of the evaluation for Woman Winemaker, you can enter as many wines from a certain year, and there's 7 lady judges, and they've from all over the winemaking industry. And what they do is they have a blind tasting, so they taste each of the wines blind, and then they select the wines. And I was fortunate enough that one of my wines were in the lineup, and they picked that wine, and then with the wine you have an hour of interview. They will ask you about your winemaking skills, your abilities, and share your passion. And together with this, you become the Woman Winemaker of the Year. So I was and specifically with the Pinotage, which is uniquely South African, I was very, very happy.
What kind of skills do you need to be an excellent winemaker?
You know what, first of all, I think throughout experience and knowledge, you learn a lot, definitely experience. Winemaking itself, the job, it's like a roller coaster. You go to work, you know what you want to do, you work with the nature, you work with workers, you work with machines. So you have to adapt with the certain day that you're working with. But it comes down to knowledge and to experience. And like I said, being out in the terrain and going into the vineyard, tasting, because each year is different, you learn a lot. And then, of course, keeping in touch with the international market, talking to other winemakers. We call ourselves flying winemakers, going overseas, doing shop with other winemakers.
The time the grape is grown,
yes,
to the time it's actually come to market and
yes,
bottled.
Yes. You know what, when you plant a vine, 3 years from the first vintage, and then usually with your red wines, most of your premium red wines go to barrel, and if it's premium, it's 18 to 20 months. So that's another year or 2. Then you bottle the wine, and not necessarily you're going to release the wine in the same year. It gets another year of bottle aging. So actually, if you're a red winemaker and you want to see the fruits of your labor, it tends to become to 4 to 5 years. And I think it's great to be in 2003 like the Pinotage. You made that wine in a certain style, but you're actually thinking ahead, because at the end of the day, this bottle is going to be opened in 2 years' time, and you want this wine to be magnificent.
How do you select wine to go with your food? What kind of rules are there to make sure that you have a good wine to go with your dinner?
Advice that I can give most of the people is, if you look at a cultivar, for instance, Shiraz or Cabernet Sauvignon, you actually can go on the internet and you can look at the aroma wheel, because you want to see a typical Shiraz blackcurrant, spicy? Is it a full-bodied? Or of course, now I'm talking about the flavor components. And then if you look at the wine itself, you look at the structure of the wine. Is it a full-bodied? Is it a medium-bodied? Usually most of people think white wine goes with white meat, red wine with venison, red meat. But nowadays you can try anything. It depends on the structure of wine, the flavors of the wine, and then of course the temperature that you serve your wine with. Because you really can do with pinotage, if it's a medium-styled wine, you can actually chill it down to 53 Fahrenheit, and you can serve it even with oysters, with seafood. But if you've got a full structured pinotage, you can definitely, it will go with venison. Coming back to your white wines, usually chicken, any type of white meat, but be extravagant, experiment. It comes down again. You must go out, experiment with your depth.
Full-bodied, not so full?
The lighter, medium style,
okay.
Yes.
Explain.
If you look at the structure of the wine, a lot of people will say easy drinking, lighter style. That will usually be your unwooded red wines.
Okay.
You look also at the tannin structure of the wine. It's the backbone of the wine. So if people will tell you it's a full structured wine, it will usually mean it's got more complexity, it's got more backbone. That will mean the tannin structure is a bit more in your face with the wood influence. Because most of your premium red wines, as you know, go into barrels, and that adds a bit of extra flavor, mocha, coffee, chocolate, depends on the type of wood that you use. So that adds all to the structure of the wine. And like I said, your fuller bodied red wines will definitely go with venison, where your lighter body wines will actually go, if it's easy drinking, it will go, for instance, if you look at Pinot Noir, it will go with rather with duck than with venison. You pair elegance with elegant.
If I wanted to know somebody and just show them that I knew what I was talking about when I really didn't about wine,
okay,
what would you say would be really a good sentence or word to throw in the mix?
I think the color is dark. The fragrance is a full-bodied style. The tannin structure is uniquely formed, and the wine is in balance.
I like this. I like the wine is in balance.
I think the wine's in balance, definitely. And then that will state that you're talking about the structure and about the fruit flavors.
Debbie, thank you so much for joining me. It's been wonderful having you here.
It's my pleasure.
And I hope you've enjoyed learning about wine, because I know I have, especially from a winning winemaker. Welcome. Investing can be either very simple or very complex. And we're always afraid of making the wrong mistake with our money, because how is it going to affect us? I know I don't like to lose my money. With me is Vita Nelson, and we're going to learn about a new program. Well, it's not so new. It's been around, but most people don't know it. So we're going to learn how we can benefit from this very simple plan. And I would like to welcome Vita Nelson. Vita, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. You work with drips. Why don't we start with what exactly is a drip?
DRIP is an acronym for Dividend Reinvestment Plan or Direct Investment Plan. These plans are offered by companies to allow people to invest directly through the company without going through a stockbroker. So that's a great thing in a way.
That's fantastic, because then you can save a commission.
Yes, and even more important than saving the commission, because you can invest directly and you can invest small amounts, they accept investments of as little as $25 or $50. You don't have to decide when the right time to invest is. You can invest periodically or regularly or whenever you have the money and keep investing. We recommend to our subscribers that they invest routinely every month or every quarter, but set up a schedule for themselves in advance so that they're not influenced by the market. because we know the market fools you all the time. And when you want to invest because everyone's investing, sometimes the price is too high. Or when you want to sell because everyone's selling, sometimes that's when you should be buying because the price is so low.
Now, to address these issues of when to buy, when not to buy, you put out a newsletter.
We put out a newsletter, and mostly I find myself trying to shore up people's courage to continue to do what they decided in advance was their strategy. And that's what we recommend to our subscribers, that you decide how much money you want to commit to investing, how much money you want to keep liquid, which industries you want to be represented in, and that they be diversified. And we counsel them about taking care of themselves and continuing to invest, regardless of what anyone else does. Follow their own schedule, because no one really can anticipate which way the market is going to go with any truth behind it.
Now, what's the name of your newsletter?
The newsletter is called The Money Paper.
That's appropriate.
Well, it's funny, it started as a financial publication for women back in 1981.
Wow.
And in 1984, we discovered that there was such a thing as dividend reinvestment plans, otherwise known as DRIPs. And we started writing about them. And because brokers had no interest in helping people get enrolled in a DRIP, you have to have the shares in your own name, not in street name, you know, not in Charles Schwab or Merrill Lynch or whomever your broker is. It has to be registered to Barrie or Vita. And then we would be on the books and records of Coca-Cola or General Electric, just the way Merrill Lynch is. And so brokers never told people about it. Not only that, they wouldn't help them get even the single share they need to qualify as a shareholder, because the only way you, well, in those days, you needed to be a shareholder in order to participate in the company plan. So, well, we did two things. One, we started helping people get the single share of stock in order to qualify. And two, we took off the appellation, the Money Paper, as a financial publication for women, because men were writing to us and saying, I've got 2 daughters and a wife, is it okay if I subscribe? And we realized men had the same needs for investing help as women did. We thought, oh, it's only women who have such a hard time making money that are afraid of taking risks and need to be protected. But men have the same exact fears as women do. And the publication addresses much more than just dividend reinvestment plans or DRIPs. It takes in the whole gamut of investing ideas.
How do I know which stock to invest in to start a DRIP program?
Well, we have our guide to direct investment plans, and that guide lists every company that offers it.
How many stocks?
There are about 1,300 companies that offer it, and these are the companies whose names you will know.
How do you create a diversified portfolio using the DRIPs?
Well, at our website, which is directinvesting.com, there's a search function.
All right.
And you can put in the industry that you're interested in, and the companies that offer these plans will come up.
Oh, great.
So that's one way. Or in the guide, we list we list companies by industry. And of course, every company is listed alphabetically, and we have all the prospectus details in the guide for every company that offers a DRIP.
On your website, you also say, watch out for the fees. Some of the accounts charge a fee to reinvest, and then there's others that don't. So with the compounding interest, you're better finding the kind of company you want that doesn't charge a fee.
Exactly right.
To continue.
That's exactly right. Fees have a huge impact, or they can, depending on how large your investment is, because even the DRIP fees are not that high. In some cases, they charge $5 for each investment, and that's very high if you're investing $50.
Right.
Now, these numbers sound so small, people might think, what is she talking about, investing $50? But that's the point. The point is, instead of putting $5,000 at one time into a company and then waiting and then at another time investing in another company, waiting perhaps saving up in the bank to get enough to invest through a broker, instead, you could invest $50 in 10 different companies, say, $500. And you could do that every month if you can afford to. And you'd be putting away $6,000 a year. But you wouldn't be putting it at one time, in one market, in one company. You'd be putting it in 10 companies at 12 different times. See how your risk is minimized?
And your cost averaging.
And your dollar cost averaging. And you're buying more shares when the price happens to be low, and fewer shares when the price happens to be high. And over the long term, you'll end up buying more shares at the lower price.
Today, a lot of people are semi-retired or retired. Is it too late to start?
Well, I don't think so. Yes, it is good. Time is a wonderful ally to an investor because of the effect of compounding. But if it's not too late to save in a bank, for instance, then it's certainly not too late to save in stock, because that asset tends to appreciate more, especially if it's a fine dividend-paying stock. And many of the companies that do offer this wonderful shareholder benefit are also the same companies that do pay dividends. And the good thing about dividend-paying companies is that dividends have to be paid from earnings. So you know this is a company that can afford to pay the dividend.
Does it ever pay to pay the high fees in a DRIP?
Yes.
For
it
example?
Does. Well, when you find a company that you like, I would not avoid that company simply because there are fees. You can invest in that company less frequently. So instead of investing in a company that has a $5 fee every month, you might do it every quarter, or semi-annually, or annually if you choose. Depending on the amount of money, a $5 fee on a $1,000 investment really doesn't make very much of a difference.
Right. Is there any kind of companies that you would say stay away from in the DRIPs?
Well, there are some companies that are happy to have their DRIP because they're looking to raise money.
All right. How do you differentiate those?
Well, you know, that's why we publish a financial newsletter.
Okay.
We look for the growth rate of the company. We look for the underlying principles of good investing. We follow those. We have people who contribute to the paper who are analyzing the companies based on their performance.
Do you need a lot of money to invest, or is there a minimum a person should really start with to get rolling?
All you need is one share of stock.
All right.
To get started investing through a dividend reinvestment plan. So depending on the price of the stock, it could be that you only need $40 plus a service fee to get enrolled in the dividend reinvestment plan. And then after that, for many plans, you can just send $25 when you have it. Or, this is even better, they allow you to have the money automatically deducted from your bank account if you don't trust yourself to keep sending the money.
Vita, how do you make your money?
We make our money by publishing financial publications. We publish the Money Paper. It's a monthly financial publication. And we publish the guide to direct investment plans. That guide lists every company that offers direct investing, and it also includes all the prospectus details of the plans, so people will know what the minimum or maximum investment is for that particular company and when that company invests. And for instance, the ranking of the company and whether which industry it's in. So they can get all the information about every company that offers direct investing in our guide.
Is there any sectors that you see as a real viable sector, let's say in 5, 10 years from now?
Well, I would like to say, and I do hope that I'm correct, and I would say that the alternative energy sector is one that should be supported. Renewable energy, and as we see now, of course, all the energy sectors are very important because of the use that's being made worldwide, globally, of energy. So that sector is always important. I'd like to see a diversified portfolio, though. I think that it reduces risk to have representation broadly across all industry groups.
What let's say, what kind of 4 stocks should you have in a diversified portfolio?
Well, you'd probably want a consumer stock, you know, Heinz ketchup, Clorox, P&G, something like that. You'd want a food stock. There's Hormel has a drip, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo. You would want perhaps, well, in this environment, a defense stock. You'd want, of course, utility. You'd want machinery. I mean, you can find stocks in all these categories in the guide. You would want, well, let's think of what industries there are, and you'd want to be represented in it.
Vita, it's been wonderful having you. It's been wonderful learning about drips. What would you like to leave the audience with?
Well, to be courageous, to think for their future, to be patient. I think patient long-term investors will accumulate wealth. And so keep your emotions in check, have a strategy, follow it for the long term, and just don't follow the crowd. Be your own person.
Fabulous. Vita, thank you so much. So
I enjoyed
great.
it. Thank you.
I really enjoyed this. And I hope you've learned something also about investing for wealth. Look forward to hearing from you, and if you have any questions, Vita would be more than happy to answer them. So look forward to hearing from you. Bye now.